On the air, on your phone, and online, it's classic hits of the 60s, 70s, and 80s on 1240 The Brew. 1240 KOKL, Okmulgee, Oklahoma.
SJ, welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ, Stone Go, Gary Fife, Jahu Jifkados, Mvskoke Radio, Mabu Hedget, Wedskis. Okay, now we are, beginning the fall, beautiful day out there, clear, almost blue skies. Your sidewalk superintendent report on the council house is they've got the wall built and not very much activity on the outside, but you don't know what's going on the inside. So hopefully they'll be looking at a completion date soon. But it looks beautiful. On today's program, we're going to be listening to the sounds and speeches from Native American Day in Tulsa. We went up there on Monday and recorded some interviews and some of the ceremonial kinds of happenings there. So we thought we'd share those with you. In the second portion of our program, we had planned to have an extensive interview with Chief Robert Hawkins of the Lighthorse Police Department, but he's been called away on another assignment. But we do have some of his audio, courtesy of our good buddies at Native News Today, and its producer and host, Jason Salzman, and Darren DeLong will be joining us later in the program to talk about the shootings that occurred in Las Vegas, and we pray for those poor folks and hope that our Creator brings some peace to their lives. And we want to know at least how is Lighthorse prepared to deal with that. But that was the plan, but we'll hear what he had to say in the interview on TV. But first of all, let's go to Tulsa here for Native American Day that happened this Monday.
Sammy Haynes, S-A-M-M-Y, last name is H-A-Y, N as in Nancy, E-S. I am chair of the Greater Tulsa Area Indian Affairs Commission.
This is Tulsa's dedication of former Columbus Day into a Native American Day. What does it mean for you and the commission, first of all?
It's a great day for local Native Americans in the Tulsa area. The city acknowledges that the historical facts what's being taught in the public school system is inaccurate, so that's why we are acknowledging Native American Day in the city of Tulsa, and kind of not really disregarding, but just acknowledging Native American Day and not really observing Columbus Day.
Now, as you are an Oklahoma native, right?
Yes.
How about Tulsa? Are you Tulsa resident?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel kind of left out or so by the city and the state because they acknowledge all this other stuff, including the land run, but you never saw too much about Indian people?
Yes, there is a kind of a misconception of the establishment of Oklahoma, which began the Oklahoma Run, or the Oklahoma Land Run, which is not correctly portrayed at actually what happened. But what we can do as Native people to try and educate going forward the inaccuracies and teaching, I guess, the true story of how Oklahoma began, and in particular, how Tulsa began in its beginning as a tribal settlement, Creek tribal settlement.
Have you spoken with other Indian people about what's happening here, and did you get any feedback?
We've reached out to other cities who have experienced the same the same process that we're going through Native American Day. City of Denver had recently passed a resolution, I guess, continuing the Native American Day or the Indigenous Peoples Day throughout the city. So there are cities who are coming abroad to the realization that it's best and it's proper to honor the Native peoples versus Columbus.
I've been seeing actually where some major metropolitan areas, including like Denver, Seattle, Minneapolis, and a couple of others have acknowledged this day. Are you kind of glad Tulsa caught up?
Yes, Tulsa does have a very large population of Native Americans. We're always ranked in the top 3 U.S. cities with Native Americans. But yeah, we are, I wouldn't say behind the curve, but we are, like everybody else, acknowledging there are, obviously there are government procedures that have to go forward to have a Native American Day declared. So, and those processes take quite a while sometimes. And I know that Oklahoma City is doing their best to trying to get the Indigenous Peoples Day as well. And, you know, we were lucky that we had a mayor who was very receptive to our proposal and actually was a sponsor of the resolution. He took that to City Council. City Council unanimously approved the resolution. And again, it dates back to, you know, the tribes who were here before the city became what was known as Tulsa City. The rich tribal heritage that the Creek, Osage, and the Cherokees bring to the area. And it was just fitting that council knew that it was just in the best interest of Tulsans to go ahead and proclaim November 9th as Native American Day.
Now, as chairman of the Tulsa Indian Affairs Commission, how do you see this proclamation as affecting your mission? What will you be doing?
Well, going forward, we will try and educate, try and get some information out to the public schools and try and help them kind of re-teach this part of history. How Columbus did not, in fact, discover America, how he was actually further south in South America, and that, you know, that would be a gradual increase or acknowledgement as far as which public schools actually try and foster that same idea.
Okay, any final thoughts you'd care to add?
No, it was a day of celebration, and hoping that everybody come out and enjoy themselves and maybe learn, you know, a few things and just socialize and celebrate Native American Day. We deserve it.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Principal Chief James Floyd, we're here at the proclamation of Native American Day in Tulsa, which is the heart of our country here in the state of Oklahoma. First of all, what does it mean for you to have this happen?
Well, it's a historic day, especially for Mvskoke people, because this is Mvskoke territory here, and 70% of the city of Tulsa is in Mvskoke lands and in our boundaries. And so for the city of Tulsa to go from Columbus Day to have a celebration of Native American Day is, I think, a huge step in relationships between not just the Mvskoke people, but all Native Americans in the city of Tulsa. So I think it's a very positive step, and I hope that it leads to even further engagements between Indian people and the city of Tulsa, and can hopefully heal any existing wounds and lay the groundwork for future positive interactions with the city. So I'm very excited. Let's
walk down that path for a second here now. In the past, the relationship between these two governments wasn't that warm. Tulsa thought it was, going to go on its own, but then the Creek Nation showed its presence and its economic wallop, so to speak, and Tulsa changed its tune. Now, are you glad to see it finally kind of played catch-up? Because there are other major metropolitan areas around the nation that have already made such a declaration. So it's glad to see Tulsa playing catch-up here.
I am. I think that especially with first-term mayor, G.T. Bynum, his first year in office, to have this designation, I think kind of sets that as a priority, that Native American people are important, Mvskoke people are important, and I think it's apparent in the dominance of both, or all, the Creek, Cherokee, and Osage nations, and how much we mean to the city of Tulsa today, not just our historic legacy, but today and in the future. So it's a very good start.
Is this event going to spark any activity, good jumping off points for your agenda?
I believe that today will be a good start in further relationships. We've met with Mayor Bynum before. He's very pleased with our presence here in the city of Tulsa, and we have been talking about what's the next steps and what we may do. Not just in any commercial development, but in the school system that he and I both see as a high priority. Make sure their education gets there and is portrayed correctly. Our interaction with maybe other schools in the Tulsa area. So it's going to be a great start to what we will be doing in the future.
So you see it as a real positive relationship from now on then?
I do. And I know that, as you mentioned before, other cities have already begun this, but in the state of Oklahoma, I'm not sure any other cities have done this. They have the second largest city in Tulsa, in Oklahoma, as Tulsa, making this step. It shows the progress and the progressiveness of the people here.
Okay, well, I think actually Norman has, and Oklahoma City is kind of on the brink, so you want to give them a little shove over the edge and say, come on, do it?
I think this will probably influence them. I think that they see if Tulsa can do it, they should do it as well. I think it's the respectful thing to do.
Okay, any final thoughts, sir?
Well, it's a great day, weather-wise.
A lot of hard work went into this, and I want to say thank you to each and every person that had a part in this. Our very first Native American Day here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We are going to have a wonderful time here today. My name is Chuji Kingfisher. I will be your MC for this activity here today. It is a great honor for me to be here and represent my people, my tribe, Native American Oklahoma. I am of Cherokee and Kituwa descent. Glad to be here with each and every one of you, as we say in our language, Sio, Tohiju, O Siwa de God. I hope everyone's all right. So if you would, please stand and remove your headgear as we come to Miss Mary Kay Harshaw. Henderson went back to her old name there for a little bit as she sings the Lord's Prayer, and these young ladies right here representing various nations will do the Lord's Prayer in sign language. Mary Kay, if you would, please.
Is home to a population of approximately 30,000 Native Americans, and
whereas Native Americans have contributed immeasurably to our city, state, and country, distinguishing themselves as scholars, artists, entrepreneurs, and leaders in all aspects of our society. And
from the American Revolution to military missions in Iraq and Afghanistan, Native Americans have served valiantly in the armed forces of the United States in proportionally greater numbers than the general population. And
whereas the lands now known as the United States of America were occupied by millions of people for thousands of years before the arrival of the first Europeans. And
whereas Native peoples of this land aided in the survival of the first European settlers. And
whereas the City of Tulsa recognizes the fact that Tulsa is built upon the lands first inhabited by the Native Americans of this region. And
whereas all too often an inaccurate portrayal of history is taught in our school systems that Columbus and the Europeans were the first peoples to discover America. And
whereas an Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 in lieu of Columbus Day by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations-sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas. And
whereas a growing number of American cities have recognized the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day, reassigning Columbus Day as an opportunity to celebrate Indigenous heritage, contributions, and resiliency. And
whereas the City of Tulsa recognizes its Indigenous population as Native Americans who have made invaluable contributions to our community through their shared knowledge, stewardship of these lands, labor, science, technology, philosophy, arts, and deep cultural influences that have substantially shaped the character of the City of Tulsa. And
now therefore be it resolved, the City of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma declares that the second Monday in October as Native American Day in recognition of its Native American citizens, and calls on all Indian tribes, national and regional organizations, and all Americans to commemorate this day with appropriate programs and activities to celebrate and honor the culture, contributions, and traditions of Native Americans. Aho, thank you, City of Tulsa.
Our special guest has arrived, and so we want to give him a chance to speak as we've read our proclamation here. And so would you please make welcome at this time the Honorable Mayor G.T. Bynum. Please give him a round of applause. And so what we are doing is that many of our engagements that we have, many of the things that we have, many of our distinguished honorees, we gift them with a gift, whatever it may be. Today, we are honoring the mayor with the Pendleton as we drape it across his shoulder before we give him a chance to speak. And we want to say thank you, sir, to you and your city council for everything you have done. And so at this time, sir, if you would.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to accept this on behalf of all my fellow Tulsans. This first was brought to my attention after I won the election last year, that we don't have a day, or did not have a day, to recognize and achievements of the great Native Americans who call Tulsa home and have historically. And so I was thankful that we had a commission in place, the Greater Tulsa Area Indian Affairs Commission, that I could work with to develop a resolution declaring today to be Native American Day in Tulsa. They did a lot of work looking around the country at what cities had done it well, developed a very good recognition of the day. And then, of course, I needed the approval of my colleagues on the Tulsa City Council. And I'm so thankful that we live in a city where the contributions of the Native American community here were so glaringly obvious that when I presented it to the Tulsa City Council, when these types of proclamations have been presented to other city governments in other places around the country and other cities here in Oklahoma even, there's been controversy, there's been pushback, there's been lengthy debate, but not here in Tulsa. Here in Tulsa, when I presented this to my colleagues on the Tulsa City Council, every single one of them said, this makes sense, we need to do that. And a number of us couldn't believe that it hadn't already happened. And that night it was unanimously approved. And so, yes. And so as we work to build this city up in the 21st century to make it the world-class city that we believe it is, we recognize the contributions of the Native American community to make it that. We recognize that this is, in the whole world, one of the foremost cities that's been shaped and influenced by Native Americans. And that's one of the things that makes Tulsa so special. And so today and every day forward on this day, in the years moving forward, this is going to be an opportunity for us to recognize those contributions, to recognize what makes Tulsa so special, and to recognize the Native Americans who've built this city up and will continue to do so in the 21st century. So again, on behalf of all my fellow Tulsans, I'm so thankful.
Hello, it's Jay. Thank you and good morning. It's certainly a pleasure this morning on behalf of Mvskoke Creek Nation to thank the City of Tulsa, the Tulsa Area Indian Affairs Commission, acknowledging today as Tulsa's first celebration of Native American Day. This recognition comes at a time when we, the Mvskoke people, recall our first arrival here in 1836. October is when we remember our forced relocation from our homelands in Alabama and Georgia in settlement in what's known today as Council Oak Park at 18th and Cheyenne, the hilltop that overlooks the Arkansas River. Mvskoke were Tulsa's first residents. According to the Mvskoke Creek Nation geospatial records, more than 70% of modern-day Tulsa is within Mvskoke territory. Our nation commends the first-term mayor, G.T. Bynum, for putting this day in the forefront of his priorities, and to the council for passing it on its first try. We applaud the City of Tulsa and the Greater Tulsa Area Indian Affairs Commission for development of educational material to be placed in schools to include our factual history and that of the Cherokee and the Osage and other nations who are stakeholders of this great city. Our people established a rich culture and the influence that helped fashion this city, including the naming of the city after an historic Mvskoke Creek town in our former homelands. Again,
My name is James Pepper Henry. I'm Kaw and Mvskoke Creek, and on my Mvskoke Creek side, my grandmother was a Childers. She was from Broken Arrow tribal town and Bird Clan, Fuswa Clan.
And I understand you serve on Tulsa's Indian Affairs Commission?
Yes, I'm one of the city commissioners for the Greater Tulsa Area Indian Affairs Commission.
I understand from what I heard today you were part of the spark that got this resolution headed for our city council. Is that right?
Well, actually, the Mvskoke Creek Nation played a very big role in making this happen, getting the other tribes, especially the 5 tribes, to sign a resolution in support of this effort. And then myself and some of the other city commissioners, and Kim Teehee in particular, Cherokee Nation, helped draft the resolution that went before the city council for approval.
Okay, is it a case of finally for Tulsa to adopt such an ordinance?
Well, it's been a long time coming, and Tulsa has one of the highest populations of native peoples of any city for its size, and it's the first major city in Oklahoma to adopt this type of resolution. I know it's been tried in Oklahoma City a couple times, and they haven't had much success there yet, but hopefully this will inspire Oklahoma City to follow suit, because there are 39 recognized tribes in Oklahoma, a huge part of the population, and our Native American people have contributed so much to the economy and to the life and culture and lifeways of Oklahoma.
Okay, finally, do you expect this declaration perhaps to give a little extra momentum to whatever agenda the commission may have?
Well, yes, and I one of the missions of the commission is to develop curriculum or work with others to develop curriculum for our school systems to teach an accurate history, especially of Native American history. And people don't always get the truth. They don't always get the full picture. People think Columbus discovered America. Well, Columbus inadvertently came across America, but there were 25 million people here when he got here. So, but I think in our school systems, people are still being taught that the Europeans were the first ones to arrive, and we all know that's not true.
Great, thank you very much.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Great. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for
Hey,
being
these
here.
things spread like mosquitoes. Now, as a former Tulsa boy, kind of wondered where our Native American people in history played a part in the development of Tulsa. It was never really acknowledged like in the schools or by the government. So now we have made that change. So what are your thoughts and thinking there?
Well, it's very important to me as mayor that we are one city that's working together to compete at a national and international level. And a big part of that is recognizing how we got here. Tulsa exists here because of our Native American founders who founded this place and built the city here originally. And today, as mayor, I want us to be recognizing all the contributions that Native Americans make to our city. And for Tulsans to realize that and see that these are things that we're going to be working on together moving forward as we continue to build our city up. So honestly, I was shocked that we didn't have this day already, but I'm really thankful that for my colleagues on the city council, when I presented this to them, it was a no-brainer that we should have this in Tulsa.
A number of other major metropolitan areas have made this declaration. So was it really time for Tulsa to kind of step up to the plate?
You know, a number of other cities around the country have done it, but we've had a number of cities, even here in Oklahoma, that have decided not to do it. And one of the things I'm proud about with Tulsa is that debate never popped up here. People wanted this to happen here. People recognize the contributions that Native Americans make here in Tulsa, and so it was a given. As soon as I presented this to the council, I said we should have done this a long time ago. Let's get it done, and we got it done in time to have it recognized this year.
Finally, Mayor Bynum, will this provide some kind of spark now for an agenda for the city of Tulsa to be working with tribal government?
As soon as I was elected, I went around and met with the chiefs of each of the 3 tribal governments that are here in Tulsa, told them that I view it as crucial that we're working together, and I'm thankful that all 3 of them and their councils have agreed that they want to have that partnership between the city and our tribes that are here. This is one way that we can recognize that partnership, but there's going to be a lot of other things moving forward that we need to be working together on, and I'm looking forward to that too.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Was the sounds of Native American Day's proclamation Monday, this Monday in Tulsa. There was no discussion of whether or not it would actually replace Columbus Day, but I think they made the declaration that it also be recognized. So if you're taking your federal holiday off, you can just say it was for Native American Day. All right, we're going to take a short pause here, and then we're going to be back. The original plan was to have Chief Hawkins of Lighthorse join us, but as I say, he got called out on another assignment. So we do have the audio lent to us from Native News Today, and hopefully host and producer Jason Salzman and our own co-host Darren Dillon will be back here, and we'll talk about those shootings in Las Vegas. and maybe whether or not the Mvskoke Creek Nation is prepared for such a situation. So stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio and 1240 The Brew.
Mvskoke Media has created an online survey to get feedback from you about our coverage and operations. Participants will be entered to win artwork from Mvskoke Creek artist Dana Tiger. At the beginning, you will be asked for your name, phone number, and email. The survey consists of 18 questions that are either multiple choice or in a yes or no format. Visit www.mvskokemedia.com to participate. The survey is open November 1st through November 30th. Winners will be announced December 1st.
Doing it when I was 11. I wanted to be just like my big brother. And some of my friends were already doing it. We got hooked fast. I just can't get enough. I'm Jacob, and I'm addicted to playing the drums.
There's lots of stuff that makes it cool to be Native. Doing meth isn't one of them. Find something better to do. Check out ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Okay, we have a recording lent us by Native News Today. If you saw their program last Saturday, they had an interview with Chief Robert Hawkins of the Lighthorse Tribal Police Force. Now, we have borrowed that audio, and many thanks to them, in place of the real thing. As I say, Chief Hawkins is called out on another assignment. So we were hoping to talk with him, but perhaps another day. But this interview, I understand, is all about how Lighthorse is prepared to deal with a shooting situation, as we just saw recently in Las Vegas.
You know, in light of the tragedy in Las Vegas, what we need to do is get everything in place. We need to look at our resources, look at what our abilities are, our response, and just be prepared for an incident. Lord forbid it happens in our area, but we want to be able to respond and be able to handle the situation the best that we can and as quickly as we can. The threat is there at any given time. Whether it's here on the complex or if it's in any of our casinos or our medical facilities. I think our main focus is everybody being on the same page. Training comes along with that.
Probably 80% of our officers have been trained in active shooter scenarios. That situation is going to be bad any way you look at it, but there's going to be other departments there, so we're working to train with other agencies to get familiar with what we're doing with them. And when we respond to those type of situations, we already kind of have a plan of action that's set in place.
Big thing is that everybody just has to be aware. You just never know. It could be just some common citizen that would walk in the door and start doing something like this. You just never know. I think there are security measures that can be put in place that can be something that can be a big deterrent, for this. Metal detectors are one thing, identifying subjects that are suspicious in nature, and anything that they may be carrying with them, bags, backpacks, things like that, just kind of, being on top of it and knowing what's in those and checking them. And there's a number of things that we could go on about to better protect our facilities and better prepare ourselves to respond in something like this.
As a law enforcement officer, you better have that in the back of your mind every day you put your uniform on. You never know what situation you're going to run into. To have, being on guard all the time, this day and age, you better have your head on a swivel anyway. But, having the training that we are able to get, allows us to be prepared for stuff like that. And, getting our tactical TAC team back in order and stuff like that. Our primary goal is to reach out to smaller agencies that can help assist us, but also, they get the training that some of the smaller communities around and stuff can work with us together to get good training to be prepared for a situation like this and be able to act.
It's better to be safe than sorry, as I see it. We encourage our patrons, our employees, that if they see something that just seems out of place or something that don't look right, yeah, by all means, you either give us a call, or you if you're in the casinos or wherever you're at, let somebody know, so that we can get the word, we can get response out there, and we can handle this before anything really goes bad.
Chief Hawkins with the Lighthorse Tribal Police Department. Joining us in the studio now, we have Jason Salzman, who is host and producer of that program, and our co-host Darren DeLon have joined us here in the studio. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, you ran this piece last Saturday. Is that correct, Jason?
No, this was actually produced last week in response to the shooting, and we definitely wanted to, see what the Lighthorse had to say, not only about it, but about the response to it as it pertained to the Creek Nation.
And what did you get out of that?
For me, obviously when something happens like that, you get over the initial your feeling is just sadness and shock. But then when you start thinking about the issue at hand afterward, and the fact that it can happen anywhere, just like the officer said there, that I want to say that in that audio, that's not only the Lighthorse Police Chief Hawkins, but also Captain Patrick Williams that's speaking there, and he's sort of the guy that is in charge of getting the trainings going and the TAC team back up and everything like that. But when you think of procedure and you start thinking this could happen anywhere, you obviously think about Mvskoke Creek Nation, of all the places we have, facilities, not only our entertainment destinations, but also our clinics, our satellite offices, and the big complex. It's a main campus. You can't be naive. You don't want to be all doom and gloom, but at the same time, you can't be naive, and you have to think about these things ahead, and you have to have a plan in place. And when I started thinking like that, I thought, well, we need to talk to our Lighthorse and see what we got going on. And what I got out of it was that there's a TAC team that's in place for those types of situations that works. It's been out of commission for a little while. They're bringing it back up. They also have trainings that they can give to employees, as they said there, in the different areas, and get everybody sort of brushed up on protocol in these types of situations. So that's what I took from the interview. I also took from that they're gathering information to do even more than they already do. And as Chief Hawkins said there, you never can be too safe. You never can be too prepared. And so they're working under that type of mantra.
Now, Darren, you've worked closely with Lighthorse on a number of stories, and you know a lot of the guys. What did you pick up out of this?
What I picked up out of it, and also what I picked up out of Jason's, just him talking right there, there's a couple words, the key words that were in there, out of commission. Mm-hmm. That bothers me. Right. That bothered me a little bit, and I'm pretty sure, I bet it probably bothers the Lighthorse Police Department as well. Situations like that, I mean, God forbid they ever happen, but I mean, if they do, you want to have something in place, and and Jason, I have to ask, and Gary, if you know too. I mean, if they talk to y'all both, what was the reason why they were out of commission?
Well, you talking about the tactical team?
The tactical team.
Yeah,
yes.
The tactical team was something that was brought, I think, late 2009. I mean, in that area, the latter part of the Ellis administration. And what the gentleman said to me was that, for lack of a better way of explaining it, the tactical team sort of just disbanded, sort of just fell by the wayside, was their actual words. And I asked, why would it, and their comments to me were a reflection of just different administrations come in, different people over the head of departments, and for whatever reason, they just felt like the tactical team wasn't something we needed at Creek Nation. It really wasn't motivated to put it as a priority for the Lighthorse Police. And so that was why it sort of scaled back. I think now, in response to these type of things, and what I hear and what we hear from the Lighthorse in those comments are that the tactical team is definitely something that needs to come back and that they're working to bring back.
Yeah, that is kind of alarming. I mean, hearing that,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and Gary, I want to bring up there was a thing in the past when this tactical team was around. They did training sometimes at the old communications, at the old Head Start, where we know that quite well.
Yeah.
Well, there was a time. There was a quick story. There was a time I was had a day off. My daughter was with me. Gosh, she had to be at least 5 or 6 years old or something. But she got to we got to participate in the training. I had to act like I was wounded, and and she was saying that my daddy needs help. My daddy's been shot. Saying stuff like that. Well, see, they don't know what they're coming into. They just know they're coming into a building and they have to search, and they're searching for a gunman. So, they see all those factors, those scenarios, and that tactical team, the one that are practicing right there, man, they handled it to a T. It was amazing watching them. Like, even though, I was wounded, I could have still been the gunman. So, they wanted them, they know that I was going to try and get help. They had a little girl right there, rushed it to them, frantic, and she played it really well, too. And, it was just pretty cool how they handled that, going into that situation blind and being able to find the shooter and address the situation with all those factors in.
Now, I've covered a couple of things over at Lighthorse, and they gave me a tour of their facilities, like seeing the holding cells and things like that. But one thing they allowed me to see was their arsenal. I mean, they've got quite a rack of weapons there. So if anyone's stupid enough to get into a shootout with these guys, you got your...
Well, and that's something that's a concern of mine as we see these things come up in these situations like this. I mean, one of the things that when I was reading through all of the material about the shooting, I obviously wanted to read up as much as I could to see what exactly happened and where we go from here. And some of the quotes from the officers, man, God bless those Las Vegas first responders, the officers that did a great job. And Lighthorse pointed out they were there and they were on the scene, they're ready to go in 4 minutes, which is just insane in Las Vegas. So those guys, reading some of the comments from them, one that stuck out to me was, one of the officers that was the first one on the scene said, his exact quote was, "I could just hear the gunfire. That was the first thing I heard was the gunfire racking off." And he goes, "I immediately knew that we were outgunned." And as a citizen of this country, I never want to hear that from one of my law enforcement officers. It's very unsettling. I want the police to be, never outgunned, basically.
Have that arsenal.
Right, yes. Yeah. And everybody debates over different things, and I'm not here for one side of the argument or the other, because all that's doing is continuing to divide this country. There are continuous things that come up that continue to divide this country, and I'm not going to get involved in any of that, but it is unsettling when the police say, "Oh, I'm outgunned." So, I mean, what do you do? And that's one of those things where the Lighthorse Police, they have resources, they have the abilities, and that's what we chatted about, and that's what you just indicated as well from going in there.
Now, as I said, I've seen their arsenal at the time, a number of automatic weapons and shotguns and non-lethal alternatives. Now, Darren, you've known a lot of the officers for a while now and have been out on patrol with them. Yeah. Did you notice the kind of armament they might have with them on their routine drives around Indian country?
They always have that, of course, the one on their belt, whichever gun that is, a pistol. I really can't say which kind of gun it is, but I know some will have that shotgun in the back. Some will they'll have that ready on there. Sometimes they'll be posted on a certain part of their car, and I think some they might have some other maybe type of weapon or in their trunk, just in case, if they needed to break that out as well. I know whenever my brother was working for them, that's what I don't remember quite sure if he had a shotgun, but I know he did have a pistol and had a couple of those clubs, because we always, of course, I'm like a little kid in a candy store, just looking at them but don't want to touch them. That was one of those things. I mean, I was just so amazed seeing them and just seeing all that, and like you said, the type of arsenal that they do have and that they're trained to use it use those.
No, I know you wanted to touch.
I did. I was afraid, I mean, even though it's a younger brother, I might slap my hand, one of those things. So
You want to get a whooping?
Yeah, it was one of those.
Yeah, we make light of it now, but I guess your quote from what you heard, Jason, they were outgunned.
Yeah.
Now, a handgun, a Glock, whatever, and a shotgun aren't really going to do much against some guy 37 floors up in a hospital. I mean, it just ain't not going to be effective. We're kind of wondering, like most of America, where did this guy get all this stuff? Why did it happen? But ever since then, I've kind of found myself looking around the tribal campus and kind of wondering where such a scene could get replicated. Right off the top of my head, it wouldn't be here, but you never know. And the Margaritaville Hotel would seem to be the most likely suspect candidate.
It's the most comparable to what happened. I mean, as far as a high-rise hotel with everybody down below. And windows and window rooms and corner window rooms, things like that. I mean, the similarities are there. Yes, absolutely. And I think that that's a good point to bring up. Not to say that would happen at Margaritaville or River Spirit or whatever, but not to say at all that would happen there. But just saying that, if we're talking about it, and if it's just a point of conversation that people that are just being logical come to this conclusion that, hey, that's a little bit similar, then you just hope that the people that are in charge of securing that facility also are paying attention to that, paying attention to what's happened with this terrible tragedy, and just being on alert. I mean, if somebody comes through the lobby with suitcases every day, hey, we may tag that guy and see what's going on there. Not to be too invasive or whatever, because a lot of people maybe just pack pretty heavy. But I mean, at the same time, you want to be safe, then sorry.
And that Jason brought up a great point there. But especially with Lighthorse and like you're talking about the security there, Lighthorse also has like several patrol officers up there. They patrol the River Spirit, and they also cover that north part of I guess the Mvskoke Creek Nation jurisdiction. So I mean, like we said, it hopefully never happens, but I mean, the response can be there, especially with Lighthorse responding to something if that were to happen.
You mentioned getting guns in that room. The guy had, 19 weapons?
I think it was 23.
Yeah, there you are. And they had several, about a dozen were rigged for full auto fire.
Yeah, it had the bump stock on them.
Yeah. I mean, like, the first thing that came to my mind is how do you get that upstairs? I mean, you come in where, it's not like your old violin case and a Tommy gun in the gangster area, but these things need cases, plus the ammo. I mean, you just walk by the front desk and say, excuse me, I'm going back to my room.
Well, and you add to that the fact that you're in a building, right, the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Nevada, that may contain the most surveillance cameras in the world. I mean, and then you look and some of it, I've never been one of those, grassy old guys or whatever, but it doesn't add up because, like we said, there's things that we've yet to see. We're seeing things that come out that weren't originally said. Now, according to reports, a gentleman that was a security guard at the hotel was shot in the leg through the door before the shooting even started. Yeah. And there's just these little things that come out that weren't the case on initial, which a lot of the times in these situations that does happen. But it makes you kind of pause and go, well, what was missing here? What's going on, or what did we fail to see that we can be a little bit sharper on next time?
And Brooks, our producer Brooks, made up a good point. And Jason did too. It's like one of the most surveillanced hotels in probably Vegas, if not the country. We've been there. We've all been there. We've seen it. I mean, of course, being Native American, you're kind of looking around, make sure somebody's not.
I'm kind of afraid to think about what I was doing on camera at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas.
So I mean, we see those. I mean, we see the security there. I mean, they stand out. They both brought up great points like that. Where's the video at? I mean, I'm pretty sure they've seen this guy walking around. How did he lug all those ammo and all the firepower in?
Mm-hmm.
And how did he get that in there? And just some of the questions that need to be answered.
One event that happened last week brings this thing home. There was an incident where a patient in the emergency room at the hospital made some threats like he was going to shoot the place up, and immediately some people went into kind of a panic mode, and we picked it up, a friend of a friend kind of thing, rumors, and of course when we checked it out, it was not the case, but the guy did shoot his mouth off, so to speak. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh my God, that thing can't happen here.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Jason,
That's right.
I'll be real quick. With that one, they brought up a code about that. It was like a code silver. No offense, but when I think of a code silver, I'm thinking of that as maybe an elderly who's lost or something like that. But for the hospital situation, it was, I guess, somebody sounded threatening. So that, I don't know, maybe if this is possible, and Jason, please answer this if you know it. Could they come out and let people know what those codes are just in case? Because somebody might think of that code as the wrong one, because, I was looking on somebody's Snapchat, and that's what she thought, too. She thought it was somebody who was like an elderly person was lost. No, but it was somebody that was making threatening remarks and everything like that. So, is that allowed to be put to the public, those type of codes?
I'm not sure on hospital protocol. A lot of things are close to the vest and aren't able to be discussed. And, you go down to HIPAA laws and all that stuff. But, this is the different operational procedures. I'm not sure that a hospital would be privy to allowing access to that or anybody to know exactly what means what and coding and all that. I'm not sure.
The closest thing I've heard is alert. Silver alert.
Right. Silver alert, yes.
Up in Glenpool, some guy is wanting to
This
miss
is a code, so maybe that's the...
There's that differential,
Yeah, you hear that word code, you think, whoops, that ain't exactly what I thought.
You think, a lot of elderly people are probably like, hey, whoa, just because it's silver doesn't mean it has to be us all the time, right? Some of us are use our Just for Men regularly.
Right. Let me throw this question out and see what you guys think. We right now there's a policy in effect that weapons aren't allowed on tribal property, which means the tribal plaza, the campus, I'm going to presume the casino and other places. Would it make sense to allow employees to carry a weapon? To be armed if they have a carry concealed permit, how, I don't know, let's just jump there. Is it feasible, I think?
My personal belief is that yes, it does make sense. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people out there are very much anti-gun, but I think that somebody said it the other day so perfectly. It was like, you're way less normal, way less liable to, fire up and get huffy with the guy next to you if he's got a gun on. And that goes for criminals too and people that want to kill. Now look, a big part of this is that evil people are going to do evil things and they're going to do it. Everything else be darned. They're just going to do it. And every time we have one of these, which is way too often anymore, but every time we have one of these, we always go, what can we do? What can be done? The sobering thought of all of this is that people are going to kill when they want to kill, and there are some things we can do, yes, but we all got to also get our head out of the sand on things, and if Lighthorse Police is going to give concealed carry courses at the Creek Nation, I don't think concealed carry should be such a prohibited thing. Maybe in different places, I guess. I think you got to be smart about it. And we talked with Chief Floyd and even Hawkins there in his comments about how metal detectors are needed around some of the facilities, and especially at the court, which brought a need for the recent court assessment. They're really trying to get beefed up security at the tribal court. So it's no matter what anyone's personal opinion is, it's a conversation that needs to be had.
Oh, yeah. I've been through that Lighthorse course and went through and actually got a permit.
You got your permit, okay.
Right, but I don't carry.
You don't
normally.
Do you feel like you should have to carry, Gary? I mean,
for the most part, no.
Yeah.
But I do get kind of nervous when I head up north into the northern sections of Tulsa.
Right.
Just on my own time. Like my wife and I go to the drive-in, and I have to admit, that little sucker's right there next to me. So, but I wouldn't want to have to use it unless it was in defense of life.
Think about this, though. What's a little worrisome is the fact that these folks were at a concert in Las Vegas.
Right, yeah.
They weren't at a bad part of town or anything like that, or I don't know about this, I may need to take a weapon here. How many of us go to concerts in the summertime outside and think to yourself before you go, okay, I got my phone, my wallet, keys, where's my gun in case somebody starts spraying us with bullets? Churches are getting shot up now. I mean, it's just people that are evil are going to figure out a way.
Yeah. Any thoughts there, Darren?
All this time, and I have nothing against people who want to carry. I mean, if they want to carry, they got the license to do it. They know they're trained on it. Great. Personally, me, I don't carry. I mean, I believe I got my weapons right here. I'm pointing. I'm showing my fist, ladies and gentlemen. Being a professional,
they're actually considered deadly.
Yeah, they're actually considered deadly weapons, and
especially when they hit the typewriter.
But those, that's always been mine. I mean, if I go through the training, I think I should be able to carry a concealed weapon. My daughter, she was been raised around guns. She's fired them. I don't have nothing against her whenever it comes time to that age and she goes through the training. I don't have nothing against that at all, But me, I never have, and like I said, I got my own.
Thank you, Willie Jones. You live to find another day.
The thought is really sobering to think that you might have to do that. But,
right. Oh no.
I always get a little uncomfortable when I feel like I'm in a situation where that's going to make a difference. Well, anyway, that's a whole new subject and maybe a whole new show at some point we'll have to look at. So let's do a few community announcements here. First of all, let's remind listeners that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and they've got a couple of things lined up. On the 17th, they'll be in Holdenville, and they'll be showing some films, In Her Shoes, educational tool. And all events are open to the public, 732-7979.
There's a fall revival coming up October 15th through the 18th, each night at 7 o'clock at the Belvin Baptist Church. That's at 320 North Mission, Okmulgee, and that features evangelist Jordan Parnature.
We got a Shoot of the Nations coming up October 21st, hosted by the Mvskoke Jugadoxi Sadogi. Location will be at the Mike Berryhill Cultural Preservation Area on the complex. For more information, contact John Brown, 918-759-8283.
And that is an archery contest.
Yes. I'm sorry, yes, archery contest.
Okay. The Jaeger Mission Methodist Church wants to announce their fall annual gospel singing on the 14th from 7 p.m. until whenever. They have invited the public to come join them in their worship. For information, call 405-221-3888.
They're needing native vendors at the Riverwalk Fall Festival. That'll be coming up Sunday, October 22nd. And if you want to, if you're a vendor out there and you want more information on this or want to put your name in the hat, Mvskoke Creek Nation Cultural Center and Archives, contact 918-549-2434.
Haskell Alumni Association of Oklahoma has a reunion at the Tower Hotel in OKC, October 27th, 28th, and 29th. For more information, call Liz at 918-557-8590.
Okay, that's all we can squeeze in today, folks. Gary Fife, Joho Jifkados.
Jason Salzman, thank you so much for having me, Gary.
Darren DeLon, Joho Jifkados.
Mado Mabu Hedgetskad. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mado.